So let's get into it with a player profile. Today we are going to be going over the most talked about prospect of the 2021 NFL Draft, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson. He stands 6'6", weighs 220 pounds, very solid frame. You may want to add 5-10 pounds of muscle, but very well could play at this weight and succeed in the NFL. Let's talk about his strengths, weaknesses, and then a little bit later I'll get you a pro comparison, a grade, projected draft range, and some potential landing spots for the young QB. So, we look at his strengths. Let's start off with his elite arm talent. So, when you look at some of the best QBs in the league, their arm talent plays a key factor in it. And I know that there are QBs who get by without having as strong of arm. I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, while they're very talented passers and quarterbacks, they don't have the same type of arm strength as someone like Mahomes. But Trevor Lawrence offers that type of arm strength, and he offers the NFL playmaking ability to scramble around in the pocket and create plays. So, when you mix that arm strength and ability to roll out, it creates a dynamic QB like Trevor Lawrence, like Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he is Patrick Mahomes. I think that's a very high bar to set. But when you have a QB with comparable traits, that's huge. So, why I love his playmaking ability is you look at the fact that the NFL is trending towards needing more mobile quarterbacks in order to expand on their playbooks and elevate what all they can do. So what Trevor Lawrence can do, he can roll to the left, put the ball on the line. He can roll to the right, any gap you give him, it's going to be in there. So this is huge for any team. And most of the younger teams that are going to be picking early in the draft, they're going to have offensive line issues. It's just a common denominator of most early pick teams is that their offensive line is not very great. And while you don't want to just put any rookie QB behind there, if you have someone like Trevor Lawrence who can move around the pocket well, has toughness like he does, it's huge for his success and it's huge for the team going forward. Now, the last strength I have for him is his processing ability, whether it is taking pressure and keeping composure in the pocket, or whether it's reading the defensive coverage. I think one of Trevor Lawrence's best ability is the fact that he puts the ball in some very impressive places. And once he sees any type of window, the ball gets out right away and he's putting it right there on the money. And I think that's one of the most impressive things for any QB. But the fact that this guy's doing it as a true sophomore in college is amazing. And the fact that he gets one more year to prove it and potentially grow in that aspect is scary, frightening for any team that's not going to be getting Trevor Lawrence. Now, when we look at weaknesses, I do have issues with his inconsistent accuracy. Trevor Lawrence will have some times where he tries to go deep and he'll overthrow the ball, and it often will be going near safety, or he'll even underthrow the ball sometimes and then give it to the corner. Now, he's not getting picked off as much as maybe he should because of these throws, but it still is a massive issue. And I think that if he doesn't work on it, there will be more and more turnovers at the next level. And as a young quarterback, the more mistakes you make, the more it stunts your confidence and in turn your development. Another issue I have for Trevor Lawrence is he gets glued on targets. I saw it a lot in the Louisville game where he would look at the seam, keep his eyes on one target, and throw it, and the safety would come up on the ball. And whether he was making a play on it or not, it was consistently happening to where it was something to notice. Now, trying to find weaknesses in Trevor Lawrence's game is a difficult task. He's a very talented QB. These issues are just something for him to improve on, but it's not a constant thing that happens to where I'm saying he's not as good as he's advertised. Maybe not as good as he's advertised because he's advertised very highly, but he definitely warrants the hype. Now, my last weakness for Trevor Lawrence, and I don't hate it in terms of a toughness aspect, but I do hate it in terms of his longevity in the NFL, and that is he takes way too much contact. This man does not like to slide. He is getting blown up play after play, and he does not care. And yeah, it's probably great in terms of leadership and motivating the guys because you're willing to take any damage you can in order to help the team. But you saw it with Andrew Luck. This guy was taking so much contact, and I don't blame Andrew Luck as much as I blame Colts management in that aspect. But it cost him a large portion of his later career, and I don't want to see that happen to Trevor Lawrence. So, not only does this team that gets him need to help by bringing in some good protection on the offensive line, get a running back that can pass block, but at the same time, Trevor Lawrence needs to do a better job of avoiding contact so that he can play for years and not just end up on the sidelines. So, as I promised before, we'll do a little bit of a pro comparison. Now, let me just say that these pro comparisons are more just to give you a basis of what these players are capable of doing in terms of skill set. It is not a perfect match ever because every player is their own player. But when I look at Trevor Lawrence, I think in terms of similarities to an NFL player already, I think of the Green Bay Packers quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Both of these guys have incredible arms. They can roll either way and make throws anywhere on the field. Both have a little bit of issues in terms of inconsistency, but when they get going, both are nearly impossible to stop, and I think that's exactly what is going to entice teams about Trevor Lawrence. So for my grade, I have him as a type 1 quarterback, and what that means is he's a day 1 starter with potential to be a franchise QB. And I'm betting on that potential to pay off because Trevor Lawrence has the overall skill set that is dreamed for from your quarterback in today's day and age. So getting that possibility to have a player like that is going to be huge for teams, and that's why my projected draft range for him is the first pick. There are some talented quarterbacks, some talented players in this class, but I don't think anyone is going to unseat Trevor Lawrence. So for potential landing spots, I look at teams that are most likely going to be picking number 1. Both of these teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Washington football team, both have QBs that warrant some reason to believe in them. Gardner Minshew had an outstanding rookie year. Dwayne Haskins had a very underrated rookie year, and with a better team around him could probably be a lot better. Both of these guys, though, most likely, if their team does not finish outside of the top 5, will have their jobs on the hot seat, and that is why I believe Trevor Lawrence will fall to one of these teams, because they are my bets finishing for the first pick. I put a question mark for my third team because you never truly know who's going to be the first pick of the draft. I don't think someone's going to be able to trade up in this year, but whenever you look at these teams, usually whenever the season starts, it's not the same team that just ends up last like usual. Last year it was the Dolphins, ended up being the Bengals. And they had Andy Dalton, who I think is a solid quarterback. But when things go south, the whole team falls down. If you look at a team like the Jets, if Darnold were to get hurt, I think when you look at the comparison of Trevor Lawrence potentially being a franchise quarterback or hoping that Sam Darnold, A, can stay healthy, B, can recover from the rocky start to his career. Maybe not on him, but because of the Jets team, it has been rocky. What do you go with? I think that the Jets, teams like that, the Jets, the Raiders, and many others are going to be looking at Trevor Lawrence if they end up with that number 1 pick. So it'll be interesting to see what team ends up with that decision and how many of these teams could potentially go with Trevor Lawrence over who they have now. That's all I got for you today on Trevor Lawrence's profile. Thank you, and take care.